Sigma males often present a calm and stoic exterior, but there's much more to them than meets the eye. They keep many of their thoughts and feelings hidden, even from those closest to them. They don't like revealing too much about themselves, so you may never know what they're truly thinking. While it's understandable that they may want to keep some things private, here are 7 things that these men would never tell you, even if you asked. Number 1. How intensely they feel emotions. They hide their emotions well. How do you know someone feels something deeply even when the outside doesn't give it away? You don't, and that's the point. For Sigma men, emotions run like a strong river, deep and powerful. They feel happiness, sadness, anger, and love just like everyone else, but they don't show it on their faces. You won't see them cry at a sad movie or get overly excited at good news. When something makes them incredibly happy, it's like fireworks go off inside, but outside you might just see a small smile. If something annoys them, they might clench their fists, but their face stays neutral. They could be deeply in love, but they won't shout it from the rooftops. They'll quietly show it in small, meaningful ways. Friends and family might not understand this. They might think Sigma men don't care or aren't paying attention, but that's far from the truth. They're just experts at keeping a lid on their emotions. They don't feel the need to share every thought that crosses their mind. They process everything internally and keep moving forward. This ability helps them stay calm in stressful situations. When everyone else is losing their cool, the Sigma man remains the steady rock people can rely on. But it also means he carries a lot on his own. They might lay awake at night replaying events and feelings, sorting through their emotions alone. This can be tricky in relationships. Women might want more emotional expression, more words of love, more visible signs of what these men are feeling. But instead of grand gestures, they offer consistency and reliability. They show their love by being there day in and day out, even if they don't say it out loud all the time. Because they feel so deeply, rejection and criticism cut like a knife, even if they don't show it. They won't argue or get defensive. They'll just take it all in quietly. They think about it long after the moment has passed, but they won't let it show. Just because you don't see their emotions, it doesn't mean they're not there. Sigma men care a lot. They just express it differently. They won't tell you this outright, and they might never show it, but their feelings are stronger than anyone else's. They just hide it well. Number 2, how much small talk drains them. Do you know how boring it is when someone is talking about pointless things, but you're too polite to walk away? That's a regular thing for Sigma men, and since they don't like conflict, they might stand there, smile and nod, all while feeling their energy tank emptying fast. They'd never say it to your face, but inside, every bit of small talk feels like someone is hitting the snooze button on their brain. Even if it's just the neighbor talking about the weather for the 5th time this week, it's enough to make a Sigma avoid leaving the house. He'll actually listen at his door, waiting to hear if the coast is clear before heading out. To put it simply, small talk is what they can't stand the most. They're not rude or antisocial, but small talk doesn't serve any purpose for them. They need meaningful conversations that get their minds going. Otherwise, they feel like they're wasting time. They'd rather be alone with their thoughts than get stuck in a conversation about what's on TV or someone's latest shopping trip. On top of that, small talk doesn't just bore them. It actually stresses them out. They'd prefer to stay silent than talk just for the sake of it. And don't even get them started on pretending to be interested. It's a draining task, one that's tiring on both the mind and the soul. This leads Sigma men to stick to themselves quite often. They become masters of timing their walks to the mailbox or their trips to the grocery store to avoid those meaningless exchanges. They might even take the long way around just to avoid a chatty neighbor. This isn't because they don't like people. They're just tired of all those boring conversations that never go anywhere. They would never tell you this outright, but if you're someone who loves to chat about shallow topics, don't be surprised if the Sigma starts disappearing whenever you're around. Number 3. How hard they work to appear normal when needed. There are some situations where you have no choice but to be like everyone else. Even though these moments are rare for Sigma men, they're part of the plan. When they're at a family gathering, in a meeting at work, or at a party, sometimes they just need to blend in. They work harder than you'd think to appear normal when needed. It's not because they're weird or loners, but because they see no point in standing out when they don't need to. Sigma men think differently than most, and they know that not everyone will understand their thought process. They're often misunderstood, and it can be exhausting trying to explain themselves to others. So instead, they put on a mask and play the part. This mask can look a lot like what's considered normal in society, even if it doesn't feel authentic to them. They're not being fake. They're just doing what needs to be done to avoid drawing unwanted attention. This may seem like a small thing, but it takes a lot of mental energy for Sigma men to maintain this normalcy. These men feel like they're on a different level when they're in these situations. They're observant, soaking in everything around them. They notice things others might miss because they're always thinking and learning. But at the same time, they're making sure they don't stand out too much. They nod at the right times and give the right responses. Inside, they might prefer to be somewhere else or be silent, but they know this is important. They would never discuss this with anyone because it's not their style. They may seem like they're just going with the flow, but deep down, these men are putting in a lot of effort to appear normal when needed. Sigma men aren't antisocial. They just pick and choose their moments. Being seen as part of the group can sometimes make life easier. It can help them at their job, make family events smoother, or avoid awkward questions. They know that people can be wary of what they don't understand. By fitting in, they keep others comfortable and keep things running smoothly. It's all about balance. They know who they are and what they like, but also how to blend in when necessary. After all, blending in can sometimes be the smartest way to maintain their peace and independence. Number 4, they don't need you to care about their birthday. While birthdays are a big deal for many, Sigma men don't expect you to turn their special day into a grand celebration. In fact, they don't need you to care about their birthday at all. It's not because they don't appreciate the gesture, but they don't crave the attention. Birthdays for them are just another day. They don't need the fuss, the gifts, or the big cake. They keep things low-key, and that's how they like it. Sigma men often find joy in the simple things. The best birthday gift is a day spent doing what they love with the people they care about. It doesn't have to be extravagant or over the top. Just quality time with loved ones is enough. Whether it's a simple dinner at home or a barbecue with a few close friends, they'll cherish those moments far more than any material gift. That's why they might forget your birthday too. If you're the type to make a big deal out of your birthday, they'll be there for you. But if not, don't expect them to remember the exact date or plan a surprise party. They might not be good at remembering dates, but they'll show their love and appreciation for you in other ways. You might think they're weird for not wanting the spotlight, but for Sigma men, it's about staying true to themselves. They are wired differently. They don't need external validation or big celebrations to feel valued. Their self-worth comes from within, not from the attention of others. That's why they won't be disappointed if you forget their birthday. They'd probably forget it too if they weren't reminded. Number 5, your illogical arguments give them a headache. Some people give arguments that make absolutely no sense at all. You'll talk to them, and the next thing you know, they're off on some tangent that doesn't add up. Sigma men sit there trying to understand, and it feels like their head is about to explode. They're not going to tell you that your arguments are illogical because they don't want to hurt your feelings, but deep down it drives them nuts. Sigma men thrive on logic and reason. They love when things make sense and follow a clear path. When someone brings up arguments all over the place, it's like nails on a chalkboard. They try to follow along, but it's hard when the points don't connect. Some people argue based on feelings alone without any facts to back them up. That's when Sigma men really start to feel the pressure build inside their heads. It's not that these men don't care about your opinion, but they want debates to be balanced and fair. They believe in looking at the facts, analyzing the situation, and coming to a grounded conclusion. But when faced with arguments that skip over logic and leap to wild ideas, they feel stressed. They would never tell you about this, but they might roll their eyes or walk away because they're mentally exhausted. It's not personal. It's just that they find it challenging when conversations don't follow a sensible pattern. Instead of arguing back, Sigma men will likely drop the subject entirely. It's easier for them to stay quiet and avoid a headache than to get into a pointless debate. They prefer calm, logical discussions where ideas can be dissected and understood. While they'll never tell you up front, illogical arguments are something that Sigma men just can't stand. Number 6. How much thought went into that piece of advice they gave you? When a Sigma man gives you advice, you might think it's off the cuff, but it's far from that. Behind those simple words lies a mind that has turned things over 100 times. He doesn't just blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. He weighs every option and considers all the angles before speaking up. The Sigma man absorbs information like a sponge. He thinks through problems from A to Z and back again. When he does share advice, it's a condensed version of everything that has gone through his mind. People might think they're just being quiet and not saying much, but in reality, they're processing everything at lightning speed. You'll never see him do it, but he spends loads of time weighing the pros and cons before he speaks. He wants to ensure that what he tells you isn't just good advice, but the best advice. When he really cares about someone, he feels responsible for helping them make the best decisions. He doesn't want to steer anyone in the wrong direction, so he puts all his effort into helping you in a way that actually makes sense. They believe in quality over quantity, which is why their advice often feels so spot on. Number 7. How much they enjoy their alone time to recharge. Unlike those who feel uncomfortable even for an hour, Sigma men have no problem spending time alone. They love their own company and actually need it to recharge. You won't catch them feeling lonely. That's not their style. For them, alone time is like plugging in their phone after a long day, absolutely essential. Their alone time is when they get to think deeply and sort out everything in their heads. Whether it's listening to music or just sitting in silence, they enjoy these moments. Don't worry if you don't hear from them for a while. They're just recharging. They're not avoiding anyone. They just need this time to be their best self. Sigma men often come up with their best ideas when they're alone. They use this time to plan their next moves and think about life from every angle. This isn't about solitude. It's about finding focus and clarity. They feel most at peace when it's just them and their thoughts, with no distractions. You might think that someone who enjoys their alone time isn't much of a people person, but that's not true. Sigma men can be great friends, boyfriends, or colleagues, but they just need breaks in between. These breaks help them to be more present and focused when they're with others. They don't need others to validate or entertain them, which can be a big plus because they won't cling to or pressure others for attention. People might not understand why Sigma men need so much alone time. They might think they're being distant or disconnected. While it's true that they don't need constant interaction, it doesn't mean they don't care. Just as some people feel energized by being in a crowd, Sigma men regain their energy when they're alone.